It is once again the time of the year, and in this video, I'll be showing you my top 20 movies this 2024.
Why are we stopping at Mona's?
To get a gun.
Oh my God.
2023 was a very strong year for me, so going into this year, my expectations were high. I will say that it started out lacking, but as the year went on, some good ones started showing up one by one. There were some really strong contenders this year, but on the other hand, the bad ones were kind of worse than before. There are, however, still a few more that I haven't watched that I think might have had a chance to make it to the list, but it is what it is. With that being said, let's move on to the top 20. Starting at number 20, we have Happy End. Anything that sounds new to me already has my attention. Its message may come off as a little preachy, but given their situation in the movie, I don't really see why one needs to be vague about things like those, which should also be said the same in the real world. Gladiator 2. You just can't beat the original Gladiator. It's too good to beat, like it comes to a point where you shouldn't even try, but they did. What the hell, sure. It's still a fun time and would probably be seen as a stronger movie if it was treated as a standalone. Furiosa. Similar situation with the Gladiators, but this time Furiosa is structurally different. It's not as action-packed as Fury Road, but for a good reason, since this is a deep dive into the becoming of a character. Sing Sing. This has some of the best acting that you'll ever see out of all releases this year. Everyone had a story to tell, and all coming together through their productions was enough to make this worth watching. Love Lies Bleeding. It started great, then it got even better, then it went back to great? There were some very unexpected directions this movie took as it progressed. I'm still not sure how whatever happened, but it's good enough for me. The Room Next Door. Genuinely one of the fastest movies I have ever watched. It's a very straightforward story that doesn't beat around the bush. Maybe a little too straightforward. There's a certain event in the movie that didn't really make me care enough, but other than that, it's still great. National Anthem. It's a beautiful deep dive into the LGBTQ community, emitting a sense of hope, love, and empowerment, especially with the state of not only the United States but also just the world in general. How to Train Your Grandma. It's a Filipino fan favorite for obvious and very strong reasons. I feel like some things needed work on, but it succeeds in letting us get to know the family and their personal dilemmas until we reach the movie's inevitable conclusion. A Different Man. Many people, myself included, relates this to another movie that may or may not be in my top 10, and I agree with its similarities, especially in the fact that they're both amazing. Obsession and jealousy may be some common plot points nowadays, but the way A Different Man does it is thrilling and just fun. Humanist vampire seeking consenting suicidal person. It has one of those plots that immediately grab my attention, other than the very long title. Even if its story is relatively darker than it makes it appear, it still finds balance throughout the different genres. Comedy, romance, drama, horror, fantasy, all there. And now let's discuss my top 10, starting with
Vous pouvez rouvrir les yeux. L'image n'est plus là. C'est un test difficile, mais il montre bien où vous en êtes. Il y a quelque chose qui résiste encore.
You don't see something like The Beast around this often in movies. A blend of science fiction, romance, and thriller that promises a good yet confusing time. The movie focuses on traveling back to the past and not to change it, but to let go of it. Focusing on 3 timelines, the past, our present, and the future, which is their present. Each of these show parallels that connect them. We follow Gabriel stumble upon him experiencing similar emotions throughout different situations. Even with these different changes of tones, we still find common factors that give us the idea that, oh, these are the things that she's supposed to get rid of. This is that something that her soul has been carrying throughout all of her lives. Although I do like all of the timelines, my personal favorite was the 2014 segment because it demands you to listen and pay close attention even more. That being directly followed by my favorite ending of the year should be enough to put this in my top 10.
You're walking with a kid. Cue message. Cue kid takes off. And go! You're dead. Don't move. You are dead.
Si è fatta per gli occhi degli uomini.  'Cause 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 'c
Much like the Beast, La Chimera is another beautiful portrayal of yearning for the past. We see Arthur search for the life that he once had, clinging to an unreachable past. In his duties as a gravedigger, we see him gather artifacts and relics, objects of the past, hoping that the next one he sees is finally the one he's been looking for. A light in the darkest of places. The connection between the historical and archaeological elements with the lead character's main gripe was perfect. Adding on top of that the environment and the interaction with different people they meet along the way. One element in this movie that represents connection is a red string, which if you don't know is a common symbol of connection between soulmates. Although it only showed up a few times, you can feel its presence throughout, as if Arthur has been following its invisible trail this whole time, hoping to find what's waiting for him at the other end. I decided to watch this movie again as I was making this video, partially because it's the one I don't really remember the most, but after seeing it again I only appreciated it more and saw things differently.
Tanto. Ma come faceva? Lo ama ancora? Bastanella, siediti. Siediti!
Thomas, I am no more an enthusiast for Tremblay than you are. But we have to face the fact that
One of my all-time favorite movies ever is Doubt. So after finding out what Conclave was about already got me invested. Anything from shady politics, everyone hiding secrets, fighting for a position, betrayal, I'm in. After waiting for this movie to come out this year, I'm glad to say that I enjoyed every bit of it. Conclave is not just a display of people fighting for power, it's also an analysis of what power does to people. We learn more about what these candidates have done prior to the events of the movie, favoring them less as to who we personally want to become the new pope by the end. This is also a movie about faith, as we see the main character already questioning his faith at the beginning, but now having to test it as well, having the responsibility of holding the titular conclave. I will say that its last few minutes are weaker than the rest, but it doesn't take away from the thrill of finding out just which of these people could possibly become the next pope. Great movie, a suspenseful experience that lasts throughout until its end.
have you seen the papers? Apparently it's already decided it's to be me.
And I happen to agree with them.
What if I don't want it? No sane man would want the papacy.
Some of our colleagues seem to want it.
No one should be scorned or laughed at or looked down upon or told to stop jabbering and keep quiet.
I feel like I don't need to fully explain why Wicked made it to my top 10 because I'm sure whatever reason it also is the same reason a lot of people had it in theirs as well. I'm a big fan of movie musicals and have never seen Wicked in any way, shape, or form, so I was excited to at least see it somehow. With this being my introduction to the musical, I am glad that it did it justice even if it was only the first half. This could not have been possible without the amazing performances by Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, as well as the rest of the cast. And as an architecture student, I can't help but feel inspired by the set designs and the way the production designer talked about them in that one Architectural Digest video. But anyway, back to the movie. Does it have spaces for improvement? Absolutely. But with the movie as impactful and a viewing experience as breathtaking as Wicked, putting it below the top 10 felt wrong. And besides, out of all of the movies this year, there were only two that I had a face with. This one and my number one on the list. I am very much ready for part 2, but until then, I guess I'll just watch this.
What? What are you staring at? Do I have something in my teeth?
No, it's just... You're green.
I am.
Just E.T. impression, alright?
You've seen the movie, you'll know.
Yeah, I've seen the movie. E.T.
Coming-of-age stories is a genre that I don't really think I particularly find myself interested in watching, but whenever I do, I always end up loving them, and Dee Dee is no exception. Following the life of an adolescent boy growing up in America, the movie lets us follow the titular character as he explores his life throwing bricks at him, from making moves, dealing with friendships, and embracing his own family. The character himself is, at a certain point, unlikable, and throughout the movie we see him facing these obstacles as a way of navigating his life, his path in coming of age. Other than him, we get to see more of his family stories as well, specifically the mother's, which I do wish we got to see more of. Dee pulls you into the life of a boy understanding the ways of life, and I'm sure that this will resonate to a lot of people out there.
Mom, can you give me a ride?
How can I have a destiny?
I saw that TV Glow might be one of the most important movies of the year. Before going in, I was aware that it was a little polarizing, with others just fully dismissing the underlying message of the movie. And although I do understand where some of those arguments come from, with it genuinely being a bit confusing at first, but all you need to do is look at the bigger picture. The movie's tagline itself is telling you to look a little closer. The movie's portrayal of transitioning and the battle with questioning one's gender identity was unreal. Genuinely, I couldn't even fathom how the director even came up with this as a concept. The acting performances by the two lead actors made it feel very real. You can truly feel their pain and their emotions. Even just the thought of questioning who you are seems unbearable. Imagine what these two had to go through. And like I said earlier, this might be one of the most important movies of the year because I know for a fact that this will reach out to someone out there who is in need of help and has no one to turn to. This movie is for everyone out there who has been through the same dilemma, and even to those who don't even realize it but will soon have to face it. I don't care if a lot of people won't like it, but you can't deny the fact that it really is something special.
What about you? Do you like girls? Boys?
I think that I like TV shows.
Что, угорайте? Вот ты что делаешь? Ты думаешь, себе можно вот так в мой дом ходить?
Надо разговор.
Ваня, what the fuck?
О, ты сейчас мне ногу сломаешь.
Да мне похуй.
Ваня, should I call 911?
Мой папа нас отправил. В смысле, мой папа вас отправил? Вы что, угораете?
If you want to talk about a roller coaster ride of a movie, let Anora be the one to show you. What starts as a Cinderella story ends up crashing down into a series of exhausting sequences that makes you question, how did we even get here? The movie follows the titular character, more often called as Annie, as she enters a whirlwind of love and pleasure, finally making it in life, until she finds out that she might still be alone in facing the new challenges thrown at her. Same issues, just a different setting. There's a lot of mood changes present in the movie, alternating between romance, comedy, and drama, and there's a scene right in the middle of the movie that feels like it's taking forever, where everything's starting to become a blur, and it made me feel like this must be how Annie is feeling. Much like we followed her into the high life, we are now also immediately thrown into her lowest points. It's honestly one of the saddest movies of the year, despite having some of the funniest scenes as well. None of this praise from me would have happened without the work of Mikey Madison, who plays the lead, and who I think is taking Best Actress this year. Is Anora taking Best Picture as well? Who's to say? I did place Oppenheimer at number 4 last year before updating it, and look how that turned out.
And can you keep calling him, please? Опа-да! Oh my God, he's got Jesus fucking Christ!
This movie is absolutely the most family-friendly movie from this list and is absolutely safe for people who are easily grossed out by violence. Is what I would say about Wicked. The Substance is one of the best and worst viewing experiences I've ever watched in theaters. Best because, hello, number 3 on the list. And worst because I am not easily swayed by gross stuff in movies with the exception of body horror. This movie, unfortunately, had body horror. So, yeah. The creation of both Elizabeth and Sue and their contrast with one another is already enough to carry the strengths of it all. The world this creates may seem bizarre, but I feel like it doesn't stray too far from the modern world. No, not I feel, it really doesn't stray too far. Discussing the themes of aging and its impact to the perception of women, specifically in media for the movie's case. It's a horror movie in more ways than one. Ultimately, The Substance is a good, gross, disgusting time. So good that you might just miss the entire point of the movie and want to try out The Substance for yourself.
Is there a problem?
No, it's perfect. You're a good candidate. I mean, you're good to go.
As someone who knows absolutely nothing about any of the Dune books, other than the general spoilers I've read about what's to come, I'm honestly surprised I've loved Dune Part 2 as much as I have. I mean, I like the first one, specifically its world building, but I never found myself going, oh, this is going to be stuck with me for weeks. So going into this, I felt a little skeptical, but I am gladly proven wrong. Whatever great things they did in Part 1 were improved on and were made even better in Part 2. If in the previous one we got to know more about the worlds, this time we get to know more about each and every character. I am now seeing how things are going to play out, and the setup for the third part only makes the whole viewing experience even better. The best part about all of this is how beautiful it is to look at. This movie has both style and substance. They took the substance. It's an epic that you don't see that often these days, and truly is just an amazing work overall. Can't wait for the next one whenever that's going to be released.
Duncan said there were millions of them.
In the deep south. Yes.
Well, what are you waiting for? With thousands of these guys, you could take control of the entire planet. It's your father's dream. What are you afraid of?
Hey. Worship, Gurney.
Listen, there was no competition at all. I knew after the first time watching this way back in April that this was going to be my #1 movie of the year, and no other movie would come close to this. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of crazy how my top 2 were already decided that early into the year, and almost everything just followed just these last few months. But anyway, back to the movie.
Oh, dude.
Hi.
Hey.
And other than that, fun fact, Zendaya and Josh O'Connor shows up twice in this list. I mean, Mike Feist could have made it as well, but the bike riders it was fine. Challengers is such an electric story that throws you back and forth from the past to the present, just like a tennis ball being passed over at a match. You follow these 3 characters from their beginnings, their friendships blossoming, up to their fallout. Almost every single decision they made as the movie progressed was questionable and honestly frustrating, to the point that it became funny as a viewer. The entire production of the movie was also everything. The thrilling tennis matches, the multiple perspectives, the alternating timelines, and the score, which was my favorite of the year. I know it's not gonna win, but I'm hoping it gets nominated for Best Score at least for the Oscars. Please, please. Challengers is just a non-stop match that keeps you on your toes as to what exactly happened to these 3 leads and what made them change so much when comparing them from their past to their present. If you're gonna ask me to give you a movie to watch from this year, don't even bother asking me. This is the one.
You think I came here for you? You think I came here to throw it all away for you?
Maybe you just wanted to see me.
I have seen you. You look like shit.
And with that, this is where I end this video. Thank you so much for watching. This year was better than I expected, and hopefully next year is as well.